Hello, everybody. I'm Brainy Diode, and I am back with just something that I thought would be a little fun thing to try. Um, I'm gonna make an MCU tier list. I know there's a lot of things you can say about the MCU to criticize it, and I'm not gonna say that those aren't fair criticisms, but I like it. So I'm gonna talk about it some, and we're gonna have fun. And if you don't have fun, then that's your fault, not mine, definitely. Um, Quick note: I am dog sitting, so we're probably gonna hear some dog noises at some point. So be prepared for those. First of all, I've got a tier that I'm calling "Not Going to Talk About," which is movies that I am not going to talk about, and other stuff that I'm not going to talk about. And these are just uh, like the Hulk. I have not actually seen the Hulk. These are like I haven't seen Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I haven't seen Hawkeye. Is Hawkeye even out yet? I don't know. These are going to be movies that I'm sorry I don't really consider part of the MCU, even though technically they are. Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna talk about them. Okay, I'm just not. And then obviously the stuff that's not out yet. Moon Knight and the second Doctor Strange isn't out yet, so I don't have an opinion on it yet. Um, so this is what we're left with. These are the movies that we're left with. I went ahead and three shows at the end. I've seen three of the shows. I went ahead and put them all in order except for the shows. I don't remember what order the shows are in, and I am too lazy to look it up. So, I didn't remember 100% the order of the movies either. I'm not that big into it. I looked that up, but I'm too lazy to look up the shows. Anyway, we're going to get started. So, first off is Iron Man. And I'm going to be honest, the MCU was off to a real darn good start. Iron Man is S tier. It's a really good character study of Tony Stark as a character, I think. Um, it just works pretty well as a superhero movie. I'm not sure how much I can say about it. It was not yet, bogged down by all that interconnected universe stuff. We had the one post credit scene, I think, with was Nick Fury in that scene, or was it just Agent Coulson? Either way, we just had it like a couple scenes with Shield people, and that was it. It was not connected in with the whole universe yet. And it just stood really well on its own and was a really good movie. Iron Man 2, I don't think this is an unpopular opinion, was a little bit less so. I don't think it's bad. I'm not going to put it in D tier because I don't think it's a bad movie. It was nowhere near as good as the first one. I think I'm going to put it in C tier, to be honest. Thor, I'm also going to put in C tier. I enjoyed Thor the first time I saw it. It's an interesting little fish out of water story, but it's not really worth going back to compared to a lot of these other movies, I think. Captain America: The First Avenger, I think is better than Thor, but not a ton better. I'm gonna slide it in B tier. The stuff with Steve before he got the super soldier serum, that's difficult to say. Don't judge me. That stuff was good. Um, Once he actually became Captain America, we had the nice little stuff with the USO. I think it was um, with him, doing all the shows and being unsatisfied with that. But once he actually started going out on missions, it was like extremely straightforward, standard by the numbers stuff that was a lot less interesting. So that's why the movie is in B tier. Um, Next up, we've got Marvel's The Avengers, and quite frankly, this is still one of the best movies in the entire series. It's easy S tier for me. The chemistry of the team coming together works really well. Um, it's I mean, Loki's a pretty fun antagonist. There's a reason he keeps coming back over and over and over again. Um, it's just a really well put together crossover movie. Um, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that one. Iron Man 3. I think this one is looked on a bit more favorably than two, but not as much as one by the general fan base. I think I'm gonna agree with that. I'll put Iron Man 3 in B tier. There was some nice stuff, like the exploration of his PTSD coming off the Avengers, and seeing that vision with Thanos and all the other Avengers being dead. That was some good stuff. Just like the exploration of Tony's mental state was good. Beyond that, not really great. Um, Next up is Thor: The Dark World, which honestly I think is my least favorite MCU movie. It's going in D tier. It's just really boring. It's just a really boring movie, to be honest. And now I see that the actual movies that I'm grabbing from are kind of going off the bottom of the page. I'm gonna bring Moon Knight and Doctor Strange 2 down here, even though I'm not going to talk about them, just so we have that extra space to see everything we're working with. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, this is one that I think a lot of people would put in S tier. A lot of people say this is one of the best MCU movies. I'm a little bit less inclined to say that, just because I don't enjoy Captain America as a character as much as a lot of other people and as much as some of the other Avengers. But it's still quite a good movie. I'm going to put it in A tier. Um, yeah, it's going to hang out in A tier. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. This is another one that a lot of people really loved, and I was less on the love train with it. It's got Chris Pratt in it, which is an immediate negative.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a 2014 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team of the same name.
Thanks. Okay, that I accidentally activated the electronic assistant at the house that I am house sitting. Um, we're gonna ignore that. Guardians of the Galaxy is some a movie that a lot of people really loved. I loved it less. It's got Chris Pratt in it, which is an immediate negative, even though this was from before he was in literally everything. Um, yeah, it just didn't speak to me as much as it did a lot of other people. I think I'm gonna stick it in B tier. It's still a decent movie. I would be willing to watch it again. But it's not my favorite. Avengers: Age of Ultron was definitely weaker than the first Avengers movie, which is a shame because it was the first Avengers movie after I started like actually really getting into the MCU. When I saw the first Avengers, I think the only other MCU movie I had seen when I saw the first Avengers was Iron Man. I obviously still haven't seen Hulk. I hadn't seen Thor at that time. I hadn't seen Captain America at that time. I hadn't seen Iron Man 2 at that time. Where's Iron Man 2? Iron Man 2's down in C tier. Um, but Age of Ultron, I had seen most, if not all, of the movies up to that point. So I was actually getting into it and I was excited to see the second one. And it just turned out not being as good. It's still decent, once again. I still think it's gonna be in B tier, but it's nowhere. It's definitely the weakest Avengers movie. Ant Man. I I'm sorry, I don't care about the first Ant Man. It's it's going in C tier. Captain America: Civil War. Once again, I am not into Captain America as a character as much as some of the other characters, but this is like barely a Captain America movie. This is almost a third Avengers movie. Um, it's going in S tier. I thought Civil War was fantastic. There was room to improve, to be sure. Um, some of the motivations of why the two teams were fighting each other were a little bit weak. But they were understandable. I still thought they were understandable. Um, the villain was barely even in it, but who cares? It was a really good movie. I thought it was a really good. I thought it was a really good movie. I thought Captain America: Civil War was very enjoyable. Doctor Strange, once again, one that I am a little bit less in love with than a lot of other people. A lot of people accuse MCU Spider-Man of being Iron Man 2. The not the movie, the a second Iron Man in the cast. I think I mean like in terms of powers, I guess there's an argument to be made for that, but I think in terms of character, Stephen Strange is so obviously like just a second Tony Stark to me that it makes it harder to like his character. And I thought that Doctor Strange was just a lot weaker of a character journey for that character than the first Iron Man movie was. I'm gonna put Doctor Strange in B tier. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I do think is a bit stronger than the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm still not into the Guardians just as a movie franchise. They're not my favorite. I don't like obviously I'm not a huge Chris Pratt fan. I don't love Star Lord. I just don't love the Guardians have a good dynamic. They have a very good chemistry as a team. I just am not a big fan of basically any of the individual team members, which I don't think is why I gel particularly well with the Guardians movies. That being said, I think I'm gonna put Guardians to an A tier. It was still quite a good movie. Um, it's stronger than the first one, I think. Uh, and Spider-Man: Homecoming, I am also going to put in A tier. Spider-Man is my favorite Avenger, I think, or my favorite MCU character. I like him a lot. I just think he's delightful. Yeah, that's. I thought Spider-Man: Homecoming was a pretty good character exploration for him. I'm kind of glad that we get to see sort of a more fully formed uh Peter Parker, or a more fully formed Spider-Man, I should say, in the MCU. I like that we're not retreading his origin story again, because kind of everybody knows the Spider-Man origin story by this point. And if they were going to retread it, I would rather them do it with one of the non Peter Parker Spider-Mans, like Into the Spider Verse did. Into the Spider Verse, by the way, absolutely the best Spider-Man movie that I've seen. I've not seen all of them. I've seen all of the MCU ones, but not all of the ones outside the MCU. But Into the Spider Verse, phenomenal movie. If it was here, it would easily be S tier. Honestly, I think I might like it more than any of the S tiers I already have. It's I There is one MCU movie that I like better than it, but I think Into the Spider Verse is my second favorite superhero movie. It's just phenomenal. If you've been sleeping on Into the Spider Verse for some reason, just go watch it. It's so good. Anyway, back to the movies that we're actually talking about. Here we've got Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was quite good. I feel like I'm not offering a lot of interesting thoughts on these movies. Thor Ragnarok was a pretty big shake up from the first two Thor movies. I kind of it had less of the fish out of water feel than the first two, which I miss a little bit. But obviously, the Thor that was in those two was not working super well, because I didn't love those first two movies, and most people, I don't think I hear anyone talk about the first two Thors at all anymore. So they needed to take Thor in a new direction, and they did, and it was a pretty solid new direction to take him in. He had the team up with Hulk. Um, he had Valkyrie was introduced as the new character, as a new hero. She was good. I liked her. Um, just like being forced to cooperate with Loki some more. It was all very interesting. They touched on that last bit some in the Dark World, but like I said, I don't care about the Dark World. I like to forget it exists. Um, so yeah, Thor Ragnarok was quite a good new direction for Thor. I think a lot of people would put it in S tier. Once again, I'm not as big on Thor as a character as a lot of other people are, so I'm not going to quite put it in S tier, but I think it absolutely deserves A tier. Likewise, Black Panther, I think a lot of people would put in S tier. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I didn't love it as much as a lot of other people did, but I thought it was a really solid movie. Um, the villain was really interesting. Honestly, I thought the villain was more of an interesting character, Killmonger, than T'Challa was. Which is maybe not the best thing in the world, but who cares? He's a good character in a good movie. A well realized character, I should say. Obviously, he's not a very good dude, but he's a very well realized character. Um, I like how they kept it, colorful. It was very pleasant to look at. Um, I like that. I mean, this is gonna sound trite, but I think it's really cool that we had a very big black led superhero movie. Like a very high profile now black led superhero franchise that people really, really loved. Obviously there was like Blade before. Um I'm trying to think. I mean, you had Frozone in The Incredibles, but that was not he's not a main character. I'm sorry, I know people love Frozone, but he's not a main character. I'm trying to think. Was Blade the only other big black led superhero franchise before? What I'm trying to say is that if you try to think of like the number of really big like really big blockbuster movies led by black actors, the only other ones I can think of are like Get Out, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Soul. So they're that's still just not an area we see a lot of movies in. I'm happy that we had a really, really high profile movie like that. And then I'm going to say a similar thing with Shang-Chi. I'm really happy that we're getting um, more big blockbuster movies that are good, that are not led by white men. This I know that sounds super trite, but I mean, how many others can you think of? Because I feel like a lot of um, movies come out. I don't want to make this into a whole rant. I feel like it's gonna make me look bad, but I feel like a lot of movies come out that try to focus on the fact that they have diversity casting, and then they're just not very good. Um, like the Ghostbusters 2016, I haven't actually seen. I'm not super big into Ghostbusters, so I haven't seen that movie. But I think it was universally not very well liked. Um, what is it? The Star Wars sequels were not very well liked. This is not a movie, but current Doctor Who with the first female Doctor, not very well liked. And I get it because the Star Wars sequels, the ones I've seen that I can comment on, the Star Wars sequels did not function as a good series. I think I enjoyed all three movies individually. I think Rise of Skywalker was the weakest of them. I enjoy each movie individually, but as a series, it's horrible. They are a horrible series. Same with Doctor Who. I do not like the current era of Doctor Who. I genuinely really do not enjoy current Doctor Who. But I want to make it clear that that's not because they're led by like women or non-white actors. Those don't inherently make a movie bad. And I like that we are seeing more high profile movies that are coming out that are good and that are well liked, to kind of shut up the people who are trying to convince everybody that it's because these movies are led by people that aren't white men that they're bad. Because that's not the reason, they were just bad. Okay, so that part of the rant over. We're to Avengers Infinity War, which was quite good, wasn't it? If Avengers Infinity War was really good. It was a really strong. I think I like the original Avengers a little bit more. A lot of people. I'm not gonna spoil my thoughts too much on the future movies, but Infinity War was really good. I'm still kind of floored that it exists. I'm floored that like such a big crossover with so many characters, so many moving parts, like so much lore wrapped up into the story. I'm amazed that they managed to make it function as well as it did and not feel like an absolute unwatchable mess. That's just extremely impressive to me. And for that feat alone, I think Infinity War deserves to be an S tier. There's a lot else to like. It brings together a lot of characters that I like. Um, there's a lot of fun action. It's quite good. It's quite good. I enjoyed a lot. Um, Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is an interesting one. This is gonna be one that I'm going to have another unpopular opinion on, I think. A lot of people really hate Ant-Man and the Wasp, or maybe not hate, but just really don't like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I still don't care about Ant-Man as a character, really. I was not huge into any of the characters in the movie, but the reason, except Luis, he's great. I love him. Um, the other characters I'm not really super big on, but the reason I'm gonna put it in B tier, in B tier, and I think the reason it's going to go in B tier is because I think it's the funniest MCU movie to me. I know, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy went a lot more for the lighthearted comedy vibe. That didn't work quite as well for me. I think to me, Ant Man and the Wasp is the funniest MCU movie. Um, and I also think it it had some of the best action set pieces in the entire franchise, especially the restaurant fight and the car chase. I think the combination of powers that they have in the movie make for a really interesting set of action set pieces that I don't think have been matched in creativity by the rest of the series. So like those fights in isolation, I could watch again and again and again. So for those reasons, I'm putting it in B tier. Now I know I said I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy quite as much, and yet I have the second one in A tier. The reason I put that a little bit higher is I know I said I didn't love the characters individually, but they do have that really good team chemistry, and I think I like the individual characters just a tad bit more than Ant Man, and also because I think Guardians 2 is a bit more visually interesting throughout, very visually engaging. There's a lot of um, this is going to make me sound like a little baby child man, but it's there's so much color in Guardians 2, so much pops. They're just so creative with the environment design, and it's a real feast for the eyes. I think it looks fun. It's fun to look at. when things are fun to look at, I like looking at them. Sue me. Um, Captain Marvel. Once again, this is the first MCU movie led by a woman. And once again, I want to say, I want to make it super clear that it's not because it is led by a woman that I didn't like it. It's just because I thought it was kind of bland. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I That's not what I meant to do. I'm going to put it in C tier. I thought it was a bland movie. Once again, that's not because it was led by a woman. The fact that it's led by a woman is fine. I don't care. It's just that I found the movie bland. Um, Avengers Endgame is S tier. This Avengers Endgame is my favorite movie in the MCU. And I know a lot of people thought that Infinity War was stronger. I will agree that Infinity War is like a tighter script. I think it functions better as a story. But in Avengers Endgame, just it's just something else. It feels like I've the first Iron Man movie came out I think when I was 9 years old. Um, I did not watch it for a couple of years after that. I think I watched. Like I said, I started really getting into the MCU around when Avengers, the first Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers came out. Around when that movie came out was when I really started getting into the MCU. But that's still 2012. That's still, 7 years before Endgame came out. It's 10 years before present day, almost. We're not that far into 2022. I think Avengers might have come out in the fall. Whatever. Even just 7 years, that's a long time to be invested in a single franchise. And that's the amount of time that I was invested in the MCU, and I still am. I don't want to sound like I'm not anymore, but when Endgame came out, I had been like solidly invested into the story, into what was happening for 7 years at that point. That's a pretty long time. Um, Especially since I was only what was I? I was That was 2019, so I would have been 20 years old. At 20 years old, 7 years is more than a third of your life. Like it was a big deal to me that this saga, this big storyline was coming to an end. The fact that they were actually ending the series instead of just drawing it out to infinity was a big deal, and I'm still amazed that it's actually good. Um, Endings especially are really hard, and when you're ending this many storylines at once, it's really tough to do. And I'm just super impressed with how well they did it. And they had a lot of moments that got me really excited. Um, the Iron Man snap, obviously. I'm gonna try not to spoil it a little bit, or I'm gonna try not to spoil it too much, in case people still haven't seen for whatever reason. Um, I won't say what the Iron Man snap leads to, but that moment was phenomenal. There was a moment with Captain America obtaining a certain item in the final battle. That was really fantastic. The scene with like the big three from the initial team, Iron Man, Cap, and Thor facing off against Thanos, like the 3v1, that big like wide shot where they're just standing in the wasteland, that was real good. And then when they kind of did that again, but with just Captain America facing off against Thanos and his entire army, that was a phenomenal shot. I loved Spider-Man coming back. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man obviously came back because there's more Spider-Man movies, but Spider-Man coming back, that was great. Um, that like all A lot of the time travel bit was probably the weakest part of the movie. Like the middle third of the movie was the weakest part to me. The snap when they brought everybody back and they had that really quiet moment before everything got blown up. The way they reintroduced that the reverse snap worked, I thought was fantastic. Just that really quiet moment interrupted by the bird song and the ringing of the telephone and then everything getting blown up. That was a fantastic moment. Um, I loved it. I love the movie. And obviously somebody who just watches this movie is not going to get nearly as much out of it. Obviously someone who's not invested in the series is not going to get as much out of it. But for me, somebody who was invested in this series for what was up to that point a very significant and still is a very significant portion of my life. It's I've less more than a quarter of my life still, which is significant. Um, just to see that all being brought to an end that was satisfying and entertaining and had so much to like about it just really blew me away. I Avengers Endgame is my favorite superhero movie, and honestly, I think it's gonna be hard to top it. I don't think I highly doubt that anything's ever gonna top it. Honestly, I still want to leave that door open though, and not to say that anything else is bad. Obviously, I freaking love Into the Spider Verse, so I love um Civil War. I love Iron Man. I love the original Avengers. I love Infinity War. Obviously, just because it's not quite Endgame to me doesn't mean it's bad. It's just I really love Endgame. I would watch it again despite the length. I would watch it again over and over again despite the length. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's a fantastic end to the Infinity Saga of the franchise. Almost wish that the series had ended there, but if it had, then we wouldn't have gotten Spider-Man Far From Home, which is oh no. Oh, do I put it in A tier or S tier? Far From Home, spoiler alert, is my favorite MCU Spider-Man. We're gonna get to No Way Home a little bit from now. But Far From Home is my favorite MCU Spider-Man. I love. It's going in A tier though. I don't think it's quite on the level of those five up in S tier. Um, yeah, No Way Home. I love Peter Parker. I love the character journey that he goes through in the movie, kind of figuring out how to step out of Iron Man's shadow. Um, Figuring out how to step out of the shadow of someone you really looked up to and were close to is something that's very relatable to me. Um, I love Ned. I can understand why people wouldn't, but I think he's delightful. I think he's such a fun character. I love MJ. I really like Nick Fury's role in the movie. I thought that Quentin Beck was a pretty engaging villain. Didn't have the best like Spider-Man action set pieces, which is a little bit. Oh, Happy! This is the only MCU movie that's made me actually care about Happy. I have not cared about him before. I have not cared about him since. I actually really liked Happy in Far From Home, which is so weird to say. It takes a really good movie to make me care about freaking Happy. Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Happy. What's the actor's name? I don't remember his name. John Favreau. I'm sorry, Favreau. Happy. He's in so many of these movies. I just don't care about him. Except in Far From Home, I really like him. I don't know. It's a good movie. I think it's a really good movie. Black Widow. Once again, it's going in C tier, but not because it was led by a woman. It's just it was a little awkward, wasn't it? The first two acts worked really well, but the third not like exceptionally well, but they were solid act 1 and 2 to a degree. I think there's like videos about how Marvel kind of doesn't do act 1s anymore. Um but whatever, you get the point. The first First, like, two-thirds of the movie were solid, not exceptional, but solid. But then the finale, the big, like, climax, just kind of fell apart. Um, to a large degree, the villain had such an unceremonious death. Um, and it was just awkward. It was an awkward ending. And that really tainted the rest of the movie, I think. It's not bad, honestly. I came out of the theater saying, yeah, that was a decent time. I'm not upset that I watched that movie. So it's not a D tier movie by any means, but it's gonna hang out in C tier, I think. Shang-Chi is gonna go in A tier. I like Sean as a character. I liked his dad as a character. I liked Trevor, even though he absolutely did not need to be there. You could cut out Trevor and the movie would stay exactly the same. Um, but I liked him. Uh, the I feel like the climax went a little bit bigger than it needed to. We really didn't need the fight against the giant eldritch monster. That was a little bit overboard. Um, but like the rest of the movie was real solid. I liked the Ten Rings as a power. I liked the setting of the fantasy world that they go into partway through the movie. I liked the conflict that that Sean was going through throughout the movie. That Shang-Chi was going through throughout the movie. For those who have not seen the movie, Sean and Shang-Chi are the same character. I should clarify that. Um, Sean is the name that Shang-Chi goes by in the U.S. When we first meet him at the beginning of the movie. Just wanted to clarify that for those who haven't seen it. Uh, the one thing I didn't really like about the movie was I found Katie really annoying. Just like the Sean's best friend character, I think her name was Katie. I found her really annoying. Which is weird. I feel like she's just basically Ned, but as a woman. So I feel kind of bad that I'm saying that she's annoying when I already said that I love Ned. I don't know why. I just thought she was so annoying. I just, like, every time she was on screen, I just wanted her to shut up. Like, stop talking, please. I feel kind of bad about that, but that was my only real negative against the movie. Um, I didn't connect with Shang-Chi as much as I hoped I would. Um, if those two things had been fixed, this would have been an S tier movie. Absolutely. As it stands, A tier, still a darn good movie. Just not quite as good as it could have been. The Eternals is an interesting time to talk about. This is gonna be, I think, my other really big unpopular opinion for this video, because I tend to be a lot kinder to the Eternals than a lot of other people. It had a lot of really good ideas. Sprite's whole character arc was a fantastically interesting idea. The conflict between the Eternals, um, like oh no, like Thanos' whole thing, the Mad Weary, I think it was called, Druig's whole thing, um, those were fantastic. As ideas, as concepts, they were fantastic. Tiamat as a concept, really interesting, really good. Icarus betraying the team and Sprite betraying the team. Ooh, there's so many good concepts in this movie. And I want so badly to say that it was a really good movie. But it was so overstuffed. It had it had too many good concepts. Um, there was just way too much to do. 9 main protagonists is too much. 9 main protagonists in a movie where we're introduced to all of them. Like, they made stuff like that work in Infinity War and Endgame, but since we're just in this movie being introduced to all 9 of these main protagonists, it's too much. The two different main villains that were also kind of in conflict with each other, in addition to being in conflict with the Eternals, that was too much. I feel like this could have functioned a lot better if they had, if they just dealt with the deviants in the first movie and then saved Tiamat for a sequel. I feel like that would have worked a lot better. Or even just had like a prequel movie that was just like the Eternals' time on Earth leading up to when they broke apart in like during the conquistadors, when the conquistadors were in Central America, when the team kind of broke apart there. If that had been a self-contained movie, I think it would have functioned a lot better. There were so many really good concepts, but so few of them had any breathing room. That was the movie's big problem. Still, I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. I know a lot of people did not like it, but I'm gonna put it in B tier, honestly. It's a movie that I really, really, really want to like, but it's just not that good. Um, Spider-Man No Way Home. Another unpopular opinion. I was not as in love with it as I was with the other two. I think part of that is because outside of the this is a bit weird to admit. Outside of the MCU, the only live action Spider-Man movie I've seen was the first Tobey Maguire movie. I saw the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie and none of the other 4 live action ones. Um, which is, part of the reason that I don't talk about them. But also because I didn't see Spider-Man 1 until I was in college and it didn't really speak to me that well. I know so many people love those first 2 Spider-Man movies, but I'm sorry, it just wasn't my thing. I'm sorry. Um so I just don't really have the nostalgia for the characters in um Spider-Man No Way Home. It's still quite a good movie. It's still it's still like I liked it. I would watch it again. Um, it still has like the characters I like in it, but coming out of the theater for Spider-Man No Way Home, I was like, I want to go see that again. I absolutely want to go see that again. I saw that in the theater 3 times, with 3 different groups of people. Um, and the first 2 times, both of the first 2 times, I came out of the theater and I said, I want to see that movie again. Coming out of the theater from No Way Home, I was like, yeah, that's a good movie. I think I'm good for a while. Um, which I think indicates that it was not as good for me as the first 2. Um, so I'm sorry. I'll put it in A tier. It's still good. It's still a really good movie. I love Peter Parker as a character still. It's quite good. It's hanging out in A tier. All right. The 3 shows that I've actually seen. All 3 of these shows I have seen within the past week. Yes, I've done some binge watching lately. Um, so I haven't really had time to marinate my thoughts as much as with the others. But we'll try talking about them. WandaVision. WandaVision. This felt like the first time that they were really stepping up their game with the weirdness. This felt like they were really saying, how weird can we make these stories? And obviously, like a TV miniseries. Oh, that's what I was going to say about the Eternals. The Eternals would have worked so much better as like maybe a 6 episode TV serial than as a movie. Just a little bit more time for the character. Maybe 9 episodes. Stretch it out to 9 episodes. Like WandaVision's 9 episodes. I think What If was 9 episodes. Stretch it out to like 9 episodes and have like one episode be a focus episode for each of the characters. Because I did like a lot of the characters in the Eternals. Cersei I liked. Sprite I thought had a great character arc. Gilgamesh I liked. I wish I could have seen more of him. I thought Druig was a really interesting character. I liked Kingu. I liked a lot of the Eternals, but we just didn't get enough room with them. The Speed Girl, I don't remember her name. I barely remember anything about her except that she's fast and deaf. I think like having a focus episode for her in the series would have been great, a great way to flesh her out some more. I think it would have worked better as a TV miniseries or a TV serial than it did as a movie. But actually, back to the TV serials. TV serial was the perfect format for telling the WandaVision story. It was a really solid story. It was just so weird. I enjoyed it a lot. I just don't care about Wanda or Vision that much as characters. That's the only real problem. The characters just didn't grab me. Everything else I loved, but the characters, and the characters are so important. I think it's gonna go in B tier. Loki, I had hyped up for me a lot before I saw it, and I don't think it quite lived up to it. It is a story that I did not at all expect out of the MCU. It was interesting. It was interesting. I think I'm gonna put Loki in B tier as well. I enjoyed Loki as a character a lot more than Wanda or Vision. I liked Mobius a lot. Sylvie, I was take it or leave it on Sylvie. But Loki and Mobius I did like a lot. What if I'm gonna put in C tier? Just none of the storylines really grabbed me. They were decent. They were all decent. But none of them really grabbed me that much. I didn't really connect with the characters in any of them that much. Um, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Hey guys, I just wanted to record a real quick segment on the 2 MCU properties that I've seen since I originally recorded this video. Those being The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm on a bit of a time crunch here, so I won't say too much about them. As for the former, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought it was great. Coming off the end of the series, immediately after I finished the last episode, I thought it would be an easy S tier. My opinion of it has lessened a very little bit since then, just because I thought the first half of the series wasn't quite up to the level of the second half. But I thought the villains were fantastically well realized. I thought that the messages about race relations were really solidly and effectively delivered. And all in all, I still think it's a really easy A tier. If I had an A plus tier, this would be going there. As for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, like I said with the section on Doctor Strange, I'm not a big fan of him as a character. And the new character, America Chavez, I believe was her name, the new major character, didn't really gel with me either. Also, I'm not super fond of how they treated Wanda's character, the Scarlet Witch's character in this movie, and there felt like there was some nostalgia pandering right in the middle of the movie with the introduction of Xavier and Mr. Fantastic. That felt like kind of nostalgia baiting and getting us ready to spin off into solo movies for those guys. That all being said, I thought the movie looked fantastic. I thought it had some really, really interesting ideas, and I like that it is seeming to go in a more bold direction. It's carrying on the more bold direction of the TV shows into the proper movies. I was kind of worried that the TV show would be where they experimented with all the weird stuff and the actual movies, the theatrical releases, would stay relatively the same. But Multiverse of Madness seemed to kind of prove me wrong on that front. I think they're going in a very strange direction with this franchise now, and I am all for it. Yeah, that's about all I had to say about those two. That's all of them that I've seen. Wow. Okay, I didn't realize that that was the end that we got to already. So let us go through the tiers one by one and see if I still agree with what I said just a few minutes ago. Well, do we want to start with D tier? We'll start with D tier. Thor: The Dark World is definitely D tier. Um, C tier. Iron Man 2 I'll keep in C. Thor. Honestly, I'm sorry, Thor. I'm gonna drop Thor 1 down to D tier. I'm sorry. Ant-Man I'll keep in C tier. Captain Marvel I'll keep in C tier. Black Widow and What If. Yeah, I'm happy with all of those in C tier, I think. B tier. Captain America the First Avenger. Okay, yeah. Iron Man 3 I might actually drop down to C tier, to be honest. Yeah, I think Iron Man 3 is going to hang out in C tier. Sorry. Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Eternals, WandaVision, Loki. Honestly, I'm thinking I might put. I thought the ending of Loki was a little bit weak. I mean, obviously it ended on a cliffhanger, but I thought the last episode of Loki was a little bit weaker than the others. I'm considering putting both WandaVision and Loki in A tier. I feel like if I move one, I have to move the other because I think I enjoyed them about the same amount, to be honest. I think WandaVision had the better ideas and Loki had the better characters. Um, yeah, screw it. I'll put them both in A tier. There we go. Okay. I enjoyed them a lot more than I expected to. I did not going in. I did not expect to enjoy the shows as much as some of the movies, but yeah, I enjoyed them more than I expected to. Except What If. I still need to watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like Sam the Falcon as a character a lot. I'm excited to see more of him. Bucky, I don't like as a character quite as much. He's decent. I just don't enjoy him quite as much as I like Sam. Anyway, Captain America Winter Soldier is definitely A tier. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 I'll keep in A tier. Spider-Man Homecoming, yes. Thor Ragnarok, yes. Black Panther, yes. Spider-Man Far From Home. Ooh, do I want to put that in S tier? I'm thinking. No, honestly, as much as I like Far From Home, I don't think it quite stands up to the level of the ones that I have in S tier right now. It's just a little bit short of that level, so I'm gonna keep it in A tier. Shang-Chi is definitely A tier. Spider-Man No Way Home, I feel a bit bad, but I think I might move it down to B tier. I think it was. Right now, I have all three MCU Spider-Mans in A tier. I don't know. Ooh, this is a difficult decision. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna move Spider-Man No Way Home down to B tier. Ooh, is it really on that level though? Is it really on the same level as Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Eternals and Doctor Strange? No, I'm moving it back up to A tier. It's gonna be an A tier. It's gonna be an A tier movie. Okay, there we go. S tier, I'm pretty confident about already, but let's just make sure. Iron Man, yes. The Avengers, yes. Civil War, yes. Um, Infinity War, yes. Endgame, yes. Absolutely. I'm satisfied with S tier. All right, so here's my tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed. If any of you have any opinions on the MCU movies that you want to share, go ahead and drop them down in the comments if you feel like it. I'm always open to other opinions. Most of the time on most things, I'm open to other opinions. I don't expect that this video will get a ton of views, but we'll see. And more views would probably mean more comments. Of course, if you don't want to comment about anything, then don't feel the need to. I don't want to pressure you to. I just I feel like this could be a fun idea to open a discussion with. So there we go. That is it. That's all I had for you. Bye.